Hello, everybody. This is Loren Seibold from Adventist Today. I'm here with my friend Raj Attiken, and we're very excited about a program that he and I have planned for this weekend, where you have invited Dr. Rebekah Liu, who is a pastor from the church in China. Now, Raj, you know Rebekah a little better than I do, and can you tell us a little bit about her?
Yeah, Rebecca is a Chinese, of course, grew up there, understands Chinese culture. She's a convert to Adventism, joined the church, I think, in her late teens, and got drawn into Bible work, giving Bible studies and so on, and then went to our institution in the Philippines, got an undergraduate degree there, and had a real passion to lead and to train leaders in China, and found a way to the US, to Andrews University, to pursue her PhD. And in the meantime, during these years, she pastored in China. She was ordained as a pastor. Her mother is an ordained pastor who was also a convert into Adventism, and planted lots of churches in one province. So she has a good understanding, I think, of Chinese culture and the history of the Adventist church before the revolution, after the revolution, and also has a good theological understanding of what Adventism is about. So I think she's pretty well qualified to kind of open a window for us into Chinese Adventism.
Yeah, and it's interesting you put it that way, open a window for us. It has struck me many times that even though we know that there are some massive churches in China and that the church has in some places been very successful, we really don't hear much about the church in China. Do you know why that is?
Well, probably a couple of reasons. One is just the political sensitivity to how much can be said safely. I think that probably has something to do with it. The other is finding people who can speak with some understanding and knowledge internally of what's going on. As you know, those of us who visit a country from the outside just pick up bits and pieces, and even if we live there for a while, as missionaries did at one time, that's been quite a while ago. Mm-hmm. And so a lot has happened. And so I think finding authoritative voices who understand the situation, that's been tough.
It strikes me that there may be another reason that we don't hear much about it. And I'm not sure about this, but I'll venture to say it. China has been in sort of semi-isolation. Mm-hmm. And has been a little bit independent.
Yes, yes.
And for example, I think it has troubled certain people in our church hierarchy that China has been so fully embracing of women leaders.
I think you're touching on an excellent issue here, Loren. A couple of things. One is, of course, women in leadership and women's ministry. The other is that the church, during those years when China was in sort of semi-isolation, the church grew tremendously. Mm-hmm. I think Rebecca will speak to that. And without a hierarchy, without a general conference or a union to tell them what to do and how to do it, they grew tremendously. And so that can be sort of an indictment to us.
Yes.
Outside to say, hey, let's showcase this place where a lot has happened, but we certainly don't want to embrace that model here because that might be a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So much has happened and they did it without us.
That's right. Yeah.
It's basically the message.
I was in a conversation with Rebecca and a couple of general conference leaders here in Ohio at one time. And one of them said, China has been closed for all these years. And Rebecca stepped up and she said, Elder, close to whom? It might have been close to you, but it was open to the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And I thought the angels were singing at that moment.
That is a wonderful line. I love that line.
Yeah,
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 yeah. That's. I think Rebekah is going to provide us with a really good class. Some of the things you and I crafted to talk to her about have to do with the fusion. There's a line that I read from a philosopher where he said uh, that every time cultures meet, there's a fusion of horizons.
huh,
And I
yeah,
like that line. And I think one of the things we want to talk to her about is that fusion of horizons. How did Seventh-day Adventism, what is Seventh-day Adventism in a place that has a culture that is so not Western?
yeah,
And what happens to a message? Now, you and I have talked about this before. What happens to a message when it is in a culture that isn't uh, the place where the message came from? Does it evolve? Does it change? Does it take on a native character? And very often we have found in missiology that it doesn't very much. Uh,
yeah.
it becomes sort of Americanism.
I would be intrigued to hear Rebekah speak to that. My sense, and I've been there a couple of times, and the worship services look like any church here in America. Of course, the language is different, but the forms, the rituals seem like they're patterned here. And listening to her and others there, even the theology, depending on who took it and which group in China embraced it, you have the broad spectrum, I think, in China. Again, I would be interested to hear what she says. Between the progressives on one hand and the fundamentalists on the other, and some tensions between these groups.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be very interesting to understand as well.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to know. When I said to her, we don't know much about China, she said, I am so pleased, not her exact words, but something like this. She said, I'm so pleased to be able to have the chance to sort of get a wider exposure to the world. So that surprised me. I kind of sensed that she was looking forward to the chance of showing the church in China to the rest of the world that maybe they haven't had a chance to do for a long time.
Yeah, I have found in Rebekah a sense of, I don't know what they call it, pride or satisfaction uh, and pleasure at the way the Chinese church has developed.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly during those years when foreign influences were not permitted there. And I think she takes pride in telling that story and wants the world to know. And that this is not a place that, things have been just going downhill. We missionaries are not there, and so things are falling apart. I think she both appreciates and likes the world to know that things have actually, despite all the other difficulties
Right.
under communist rule, that the church itself flourished and grew tremendously.
And of course, one of the things we wanted her to talk about was the role of women in that growth.
Yes, yes. Um, and she, I've heard her talk about it, and she makes a distinction between uh, people who are gifted and regardless of gender, and picking them to serve versus the way it is often done, which is not so much based on giftedness, but on other factors. So yeah, that'll be another interesting chapter of her presentation.
Yeah. Well, let me just give you all the information about where and when this is going to be. This is going to be on Saturday. Now, I'm going by Eastern time, which is New York City time, and we meet at 1:30 American Eastern time, uh, and that is about 12 hours. I believe it's exactly 12 hours for Rebekah, where she's at. So she's going to be up in the middle of the night doing this for us. The links, I'm going to post them here with this video, this information video, and I'm also they'll also be posted with the original announcement, and we're going to try to keep you very much informed. I think this should be an event in the Adventist Church for many of us to hear what is happening in the church in China. I'm excited about it. And Raj, thank you very much for
Yeah,
your helpfulness in in pulling this together. I did
sure.
not know Rebekah, and you did.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think your viewers, your participants in this seminar will be blessed to hear her. So I hope they tune in.
Good, thank you.
All right.
And we'll bring it to a close now. And thank you very much for being with us. And I will see you on Sabbath at 1:30. And
Yep.
I hope we see a lot of the rest of you here too. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.